Hello everyone and welcome to today's tutorial, and in this one I'll be showing you how to build a currency converter using the Flutter SDK. So here's a screenshot of what we're going to be building, and we're going to be using the open rates JSON API to get the live exchange rate for our conversion. So let's head over to main.dat and let's get started. So over here in main.dat file, the first thing would be initially I cleared out everything the Flutter application generated for us. So the next thing would be to create our main method, and this main method is going to call the run app method, which created a new material app, and the material app needs a title, so we'll pass it a title of currency converter. And the next thing will be to pass it the home. So the home is going to be the default widgets the application loads. So we'll pass it currency converter. The next thing will be to create this currency converter widget. So it's going to be a stateful widget. So currency converter. And one thing to note, before you watch this tutorial, make sure you've done the introductory tutorial on Flutter in the Google Code Lab, or you must have done one tutorial on Flutter to understand what the stateful widget is. Or if you're coming from a React native environment, you should know what a stateful and stateless widget or component is. So the next thing would be to return a new text instead of a container, and just pass it hello world to test if our application is not broken. So one more thing, if you head over to your project 3, you can see in your widget.test it shows an error because by default Flutter generates my app widgets in the initial main.dat. So we change this to currency converter. So you can either change it to currency converter or you delete the widgets test.dat file if you won't be doing any testing. So I'll leave it that way and we'll run our app. So you can see our app is currently working with the hello world over here. So we don't need to build this way. So the next thing would be to remove this text. And the reason I just ran it was to check if our app was broken. So the next thing would be to create a scaffold, to return a scaffold widget, which is just like the default page view for a material application. So the scaffold widget needs needs an app bar, and we'll just create a new app bar and pass it a title, which is going to be a text. Just name it currency converter. The next thing the scaffold widget needs is a body. So over here we'll pass in, we'll just create a new container. Create a container and just give it a height of 600. We're going to change this later on. Then we'll pass in a child, which is going to be a card. Then the card is going to have a child. Let's see what we've done so far. So you can see over here it has hello. So the next thing we're going to do would be to give it a width, the container a width, because if you can see, although it's not that clear, it just has some part of the screen. So the width will be given, it will be media query that of size dot width. So it's going to take up the whole full width of the application. So you can see it's taking up the full width. And also for the height, we can leave it at 600, or let's just do the same thing for the height. And we're going to be creating a responsive design. So as time goes on, I'm going to change this stuff. So height divided by 2. Okay, so we won't be able to see this yet, or you could see, let me give the card an elevation of 3.0 to, yeah. So you can see we have a card over here. So let's remove this text and add a text field. So from the UI, let's bring this screenshot. So this is what we want to achieve. We want to achieve, we want to create a text view and 2 drop-down buttons, and also probably a message chip to show the conversion. So let's go back to the text field, and we'll, the text field should have a controller. So I'll just give it from controller. So let's head over back to this class and declare a from controller, which is going to be text editing controller. So okay, so we have this, and the next thing would be to pass in the keyboard type of so passing the keyboard type to have only a numeric keyboard. Okay, so it has a numeric keyboard, and one thing I'm going to do would be to wrap this stuff in a list tile and change this to title. And also have trailing, and we'll just make it a text for now. Let's see how this looks. So we're trying to achieve this, if you can see the screenshot, but this stuff over here is going to be a drop down button. So, but for here, I'm just putting a placeholder text to finish up the design. So and the reason I'm using a list style is just, you can use a row, but I'm using a list style because it gives me this default styling. I could actually add an icon over here if I want to. So the next thing would be to wrap this in a column. So this wouldn't be child, this would be children. And we'll pass So let's save this and see. So everything is still okay. So the next thing would be to create another list style for the to conversion. And for the title, we won't be using a text field, we'll just be using a message chip. Like a filter chip. And the label is going to be let's just choose a basic chip. Let's see how that looks. So this is looking good compared to a screenshot over here. So the next thing would be to add this icon over here. So to do that, let's just, in between this, let's add an icon button and pass in an icon of icons.arrow downward. So, yep. So we have the downward arrow. So the next thing to give it some spacing would be to go over to the column and main axis alignment. Space evenly for it to have some spaces over here. Okay, cool. So far we're making progress in our design. So the next thing would be to also, let's see, give this a text style. Yeah, style, and give it a texting display one. Let's see how that looks. The text should be bigger. Cool. So yeah, so the next thing would be to actually create, let's see, we should also give this card some padding. Yeah, so we have the padding over here. Then what should be the next thing? The next thing would be to populate this drop down. Let's see. Okay, the next thing would be to populate this drop down menu item with the data, the actual data. So if you head over to OpenRate's API, they have a list of different endpoints you could use to actually get the data you want. So I'll head over to the base data, the base endpoint. And the base endpoint converts from euro to other currencies by default. So the thing I want to achieve right now is to get the list of all these, can you see that? Control. Okay, to get the list of all these currencies. So we want to get them from this rate key. So we head over to, so this is the one, this is the endpoint we'll be using to get all the list of the currency values or the currency symbols. Then this other endpoint would be for the actual conversion. So we give it the base and we give it the symbol, which is the currency to convert to. So let's make use of this endpoint. So I'll copy that and we'll head over to our main.dat. So the first thing we'll do would be to call on to override the init method let's see. Okay, let's declare it first. Init state. Yep. Then we'll call in a method load currencies. Let's call it load currencies, and we'll create this method over here. So the method load currencies is going to be getting data from an endpoint, and whenever you want to get data from an endpoint, or whenever you want to perform asynchronous tasks, that is tasks that could like take some time to complete, you use the async keyword. Yep. And you also, this load currencies is going to return, let's see, it's going to return a string. So we'll be using the future because the future is a DATS language property that tells your function that this stuff is going to return this string in the future. So it's not going to return it immediately. So the next thing would be to do a get. So response equals to http.get, and over here we're going to be using this. The HTTP we're going to be using is from this package, and also for the future and the async stuff is using it from the dat async package. So let's head back down and do the get. So this gets, first I copied the URL, so let's so we get this. Let's just name it a URI, it doesn't matter, or name it URI. So over here we'll do some encoding. So URI dot encode full, then we'll pass in the URI. Then the next stuff would be, the next argument for the get function would be the headers. So the headers is just simply telling the system that we're expecting a JSON data. So we'll accept application.json. Yes. So the next thing would be to actually get the response body. So JSON.decode is going to get the JSON format of this data. So response body the next thing to do would be to, let's print it out and see. Let's print it out and see what it gives us. So response body, we'll print it out. So let's also return success, because we are returning a string here. So we are returning success as a string because this feature needs this success. So yeah, response. What is the error? Okay, we get, oh yeah, the response body. So over here we'll do response.body. Okay, the getter body isn't defined for the class feature response. Why? Okay, so the reason why we're having this is, remember I told you this is an asynchronous request. So it doesn't just, we're going to return this response in the future. So whenever you precede your function declaration with an async keyword, the request or the stuff you want to execute should have an await keyword. So now we have the awaits, we can actually do this. So the load currencies, okay, so what next? The method load currencies. Okay, I'm having a typo. Okay, let me just. Okay, cool. So the init state is going to be called whenever this widget initializes. So it's just going to be called only once. So what that means is whenever we're starting an application, it should load all the currencies. So let me open up this and save and see what returns. So we're going to be looking at this screen to see what it returns. Okay, so we have to do a hot restart because I told you, because now the widget is already loaded, so it won't actually call the load currencies function. So when you restart the application, it's going to call it. So let's see, are we having an error? Okay, connection closed. Okay, so this means that there's a problem with our internet connection because this data is actually getting from the internet. So let's try that again to see if the network. Okay, so yeah, it's Nigeria, so we're gonna have bad network sometimes. So we have this stuff, so you can see the stuff it returned, which is the actual stuff from this website. You can see the same thing. So currently now the load currency function works. So the thing we need from this load currency function is for, let's see, let's look at the result, or let's just use the browser. Let's see. So I want to get all the keys of this map from the rates key. So I want to enter into rates and get all these keys. So I want to get AUD, BGN, USD, Canadian dollar, and so on and so forth. So to actually do this, we're going to create, I want to get all these keys and put them in a list because I want to populate this stuff from the screenshot. I want to populate this drop down button with all the list of these keys. So the next thing we'll do would be to create a list of strings and we'll name it currencies. Yeah, we'll name it currencies, and over here, let's see. So currencies equals, so whenever we create this variable currencies, it's automatically added to the state. That is the usefulness of a stateful component. So whenever this currency value change, you could actually update the state of the application. So you'll see what that means in a second. So the next thing would be to get the response body, and inside this response body we want to get the rates. That is this rates key over here. Then we want to get let's see. Okay, we want to get the rates and okay. Okay, before I assign this to currencies, let me do something. Let's see what it prints. Okay, so now we have this response body rates. So can we do this? Okay, so this is a map, because in that a map is a key value pair. So you have the key and you have the value. So let's assign this into a map variable, because currently this is still JSON. So we'll create a map and let's call it call currency key keys or currency map. Okay, let's call it call map. Then we can actually use call map dot so call map dot keys. Let's see what that looks like now. So the reason of us creating a map variable and assigning this is because the response body, the rate, it's actually JSON data. So we are assigning it into a map because the variable, the data type also tallies, because in that a map is a key value pair, and you can see you have the key over here and the value over here. So let's paste this and see what the map, what the keys look like. We'll do a hot restart to reload the application. So the reason we are doing a hot restart, like I said, the init state function runs only once in the life cycle of the application. So let's see. So you can actually see now we have all the whole keys of everything we actually wanted. So this call map.keys, it returns an iterable. So let's see an iterable. You can see it's of type an iterable, and in that an iterable, a list can be an iterable, a map can be an iterable, so something you can iterate over. So remember over here we declared the currencies list. So let's us assign this call map.keys into the currency list. So you can now say currencies equals to call map dot keys dot to list. So this creates a list, so it converts this stuff into a list. So because currently it's just an iterable over here, but now we're explicitly defining it as a list using the to list function. So let's print currencies and let's see what it looks like. So remember to do the hot restart. So now you can see it is a list. So the next thing we're going to be doing would be to find a way to actually populate this drop down, just like the screenshot over here. We're going to be populating this data with this list. So in Flutter, there's a widget called the drop down button, which is what I used over here, the drop down button, where you click on it and you have a list of items. So we want to create a drop down button. So normally if we go to our build method, we could actually just replace this trailing, this text with a drop down button. But if we do that way by coming over here to replace this, it means we'll be creating two different drop down buttons. And if you look at this, the drop down button are basically the same. You just load a list of data, but the only difference is that their actions are different, or what their unchanged events are different, which means that this drop down button is for the to currency and the from currency, and this one is the to currency, which means this drop down button is from the currency you want to convert from, and this one is the currency you want to convert to. So to do this, we'll just create a simple method. We'll create a simple widget, which is going to be a method, and we make it dynamic by giving it a function argument. So enough talk, and let me show you what that actually means. So we would head down over here. Let's see, where should we create this? Let's create it after the build method. So it's going to have a return type of widget, and I'll name it build build drop down button and it's going to collect an argument of string, which is the currency category. So what this string is going to be is it's going to just define if the value is going to be from currency or to currency. And to make this easier for you to understand, let me just declare these values once and for all. So I'll declare from currency equals to USD equals to GBP. So the drop down buttons are going to have different currencies, so different initial currencies. So the initial one could be USD, while the two could be GBP, which is Great Britain pound sterling. So the reason for having two is that you could the drop down button is going to be coming from the same function, but we're going to be using that argument, which is this, to differentiate which currency we actually are working on. Is it the from currency value or the to currency value? So the next thing would be to return a drop down button. Okay, and let's head over to the declaration. So let's head to drop down button. So I did that by using the control click on the class name in Windows. If you're in Mac, it should be command click. So you can see from the declaration of the drop down button, it requires items, and it also requires an unchanged event, which means that whenever you change the value of the button, what should happen? So in our case would be to just update the value of what we clicked to the current value of the drop down button. So for the items, this items is going to be let's see, items so the items are going to be a drop down menu item. So two things we need one, the items, and we need two, the unchanged event. So the unchanged events, let's just make it empty for now. It needs something. Let's click on it and see what it needs. So the unchanged value change, it needs a value. So you see everything, you can actually know how all this widgets works by just going to their declaration and knowing what they need. You don't have to like cram everything or store everything in your head. That is the beauty of a good code editor and intelligence. So over here, you say it needs a value. So I give it a value of string value. So cool. So the next thing would be, so it's currently an empty function for now. So the items, back to the declaration of the drop down button. So the drop down button requires drop down menu item. So let's see. So we are not going to be creating, or should we? Okay, we're going to be creating this dynamically based on this list we generated over here. So let me show you what that means. So now for the items, you're going to be currencies dot map. So we're going to be mapping the currencies to, let's say, the value, and we're going to return a drop down menu item. Okay, format with that format to just have our code well formatted. So so the drop down button has a list of drop down menu items. So the drop down menu item, let's see, it needs a value. So the value is going to be this value, that's the current value of the iteration. So the next element it needs is a child, and this child, okay, this child is, let's make the child a row. And this row is just going to be, you can style it however you want. This row, the text is going to be the value. Is that correct? Yeah. So, yep. So let's see. So we have a drop down button, and the items is going to be the list of the currencies. We're going to build the drop down item based on the value of the currency. So the last thing to do would be in this map function, we have to call the toList method because the items requires a list. So we'll make this call the toList. So now we're done with that. The next thing would be to actually replace this text, that is this USD we put here, with the drop down button. So this function returns a widget, which is a drop down button that has the list of drop down menu items, which is gotten from the currencies list. So let's head over and change this to build drop down button and pass the currency category as from currency. So this from currency is gotten from our declaration over here. So let me just hide this stuff for now. So this from currency, so the default value is going to be USD. So let's save. And remember, we're going to do a hot restart because the init method, we just want to load. Okay, we have a drop down button currently, but it doesn't have. Okay, cool. So let's do a hot restart. Okay. Oops. What's happening? Okay. The method map was called on null. Okay. So remember what I told you about asynchronous calls? The map method currently, the currencies data currently takes some time to load, and your UI loads before the currency gets called. So we have to find a way to make our UI wait until you load the currencies. So how we're going to achieve this would be to just put a simple condition on our body. So on our body of our scaffold, in our build method, we just do a simple check. And this check is going to be if currencies equals to null, because it's complaining right now. It's saying no such method map was the method map was called on null. And why? Currency is currently null because it takes some time, a few seconds before it gets it from the internet. So we'll just check here. If currencies is equals to null, we'll return a circular progress indicator. Then if it is, so if the currencies is null, show the circular progress indicator. If you have the currencies, show the container. So let's just do some formatting with that format. So let's save this and do a hot restart. Okay, we can see the circular indicator over here. What's happening? Okay, it's happening. Let me load the application once more. And one more thing, the circular indicator was trained at the top left corner, and that is not really what we want. So we just have to center the circular progress bar with a center widget. So to do that, we'll just click the Alt and Enter and click center widget. So this automatically centers the widget for us. So while this reloads, I could just pause the video and get back. So we are back. So it has run, the application has restarted, and if you can see now, the current the circular progress indicator is showing infinitely, and this is and the reason why this is so is because when we start the application, the currencies is equals to null. When the load currencies function calls, it updates the currency, but we don't tell, the application doesn't know about this update. So to let the application know about the update, after loading the currency over here, we call in the setState function. And the setState function is a function of the state class. So because this is a stateful component, we have access to the setState. So what this simply does is very simple. What it does is that initially the currency is null. After it loads it, the currency becomes this list value. Then after that, we call the setState to let the application know that a state has been changed, which is just the value of the currencies. So we could see now while this rotates, I'll have to do a hot restart, but let's see. Okay, so cool. So we can see right now that, let's do a hot restart to just show you what happened once again. So you can see the first thing you see would be the circular progress indicator. Then after that, you see our application because of the setState method. So our application now knows the currency has been loaded, so you hide this. So let's click on this. We can see the list of our currencies. Wow, this is looking really, really nice. So one thing you'd notice would be we don't have a default value, and let's see why that is so. So we'll head back to the build drop-down function, currency category. Okay, let's see what it needs. We could actually press Ctrl space to see what it needs. So it needs a value. So the value should be the currency category. Yup. And that should be that. So it should load over here. If it doesn't load, we'll do the hot restart. Okay, cool. So you can see it has the USD over here, and it is getting it from this line over here. So now the beauty about object-oriented programming, do not repeat yourself, that's the dry principle, is that we could actually use the same build drop-down button for our toConverter here. And that is why I created this function and passed in the currency category. So this is a very dynamic stuff. In future videos, I might show you how to create a full widget, drop-down button widget, whereby you just pass in the list and the current value and it creates it for you instead of declaring it from scratch. But I don't know about that. Let's see how it goes. So the next one will be to update this second drop-down button. So we pass in the text, we remove the text and call the build drop-down button and pass it the from currency. So cool. So you can see our build function is very lightweight. You see our body function, our body property is very lightweight. We just have a list style, an icon button, and another list style. So okay, made a mistake. It's showing USD because we used from currency instead of to currency. I hope I'm not going too fast in this tutorial, but like I said, you must have done at least one, the intro to Flutter tutorial from their Google Code Lab or some other tutorial to get a hang of this. I could also do some basic intro to Flutter in the future if you request that. So now you can see now we have the to currency and this is GBP. This is looking good. This is looking good so far. We have the USD. But there's something you're going to notice now. When I click on this, it doesn't change. The drop-down button doesn't change. Same thing for these two. So to make that possible, you know, the unchanged function, the unchanged property is actually empty. It doesn't know what to do. So let's head up here and create the unchanged function for that. So what is it going to return? Let's see. Okay, let me just do something. So on from changed just the name. string the value, and on from changed, that is when the from drop down changed. This is the function we want to call. So on from changed is going to set state. Remember, the set state is just going to tell the application that a value has changed, so it updates the UI. So on from change would be from currency equals to the value. That's the current value that you clicked from. Oh, let me just implement it so you see how this works. So on from change is going to set the state. It's going to update the value of the from currency, that is from this USD to whichever value I clicked, and it is going to get the value from the drop down button. So okay, so unchanged unchanged is going to call on from change, and we'll pass in the value. So let's see if that works. It works. So it changes from this to this. So remember, this function is for the drop down. This function is just a generic function for any drop down button. So if we do this, for instance, on this second one, it's going to be updating the first button. So the thing to do that, we'll just have an if condition. So we'll just put a simple if condition. So if the currency IntelliSense, this stuff should be fast. So if the currency category is equals to from currency, so if it is equals to from currency, call this, then else, or else if, whichever one, but I'm just going to do else. So else just means if it is not from currency, it's going to be to currency. So else we'll call it on to change. You could give it a better function name, but I'm just going to use on to change for this tutorial. So we'll head back up and create on to change. So passing string value, and we'll call set state, and we'll say to currency is equals to the value. So let's see, let's reload and see how that goes. Wow, it's working. So yeah, everything is working. And yeah, I know you were waiting for, let's just get down and do the currency conversion. Like I said, this is not like a first tutorial you should take on the Flutter framework, unless you're coming from, you have a strong, or you're coming from a Java or JavaScript background, or you've done some React or React Native, then this tutorial will be easy for you to follow. So I'm just getting things straight and set before actually doing the conversion. So that is that. So we have these two drop down populated. We also have this one also populated. So the next thing would be actually to do the conversion. So I think I'll be using this button for the conversion for now. Then later on we could also implement unchanged, like whenever you change the value it should automatically convert. So let's head straight to the conversion part. So first things first, let me create a function up here. After load currencies, let's create a second function called do conversion. So this function is going to also be a feature, and it would return, okay, yeah, it should return a string, and it's going to be do conversion. So like others, you have the async which shows it's an asynchronous tags. And also, I did not make mention, this JSON.decode is gotten from this convert package. So you can read more on that on the internet. So yeah, let's head back to this. So the do conversion is going to be the actual conversion, the stuff that converts from one currency into the other. So the URI, let's head over to the browser and see the URI. So the URI is this. So you provide a base currency and the symbol is going to be the two currency. So whenever the USD conversion from USD to GBP means is 0.77, which is 1 USD equals to 0.77 pounds. So yeah, let's head over back to Android Studio and yeah. So now this base, let's leave it this way for now to just see if it actually works. So I wouldn't want to write this stuff from scratch. Let me just copy it over here. Let me just copy to save time. This tutorial is getting quite long, 51 minutes, but it's just going to teach you different stuffs in Flutter. You can learn the dry principles. You can learn how asynchronous tags work and a little bit of basic styling. So the next thing would be response body. So let's print response. Okay, and the reason why we could have the same variable name is still from basic programming principles. So these are local variables, they exist only in this function. So rest body, and we'll do what is the okay, let's just print out rest body and see what it gives us. Then we'll know how to work from that. So this do conversion, we're going to be calling it from this icon button. So the icon button unpressed is you're gonna call do convert. Let's make this a private function. Let's make all these stuffs private. So we denote privacy in that by using prefixing the function or variable name with an underscore. So let's make that a private. Then over here in the icon button, do conversion. Cool. So let's see. I'll bring back this up so I'll see what it prints out. I want to see what the structure of the response looks like. So I'll click on this and let's wait and see. Okay, so what's the error? Connection, that's internet. Okay, that's what we get over here. So let's click again and see. Although we could just handle this exception, we'll do that, but let's see. So you can see now you have the conversion rate from USD to GBP. So we want to actually get the value of this. We want to get this value. Okay, so we can do response body dot rates dot not dots. We do GBP. This is going to be dynamic, but I just want to see how we'd get the value. So we'll click on that. So we have the value here, 0.77. So yeah, let's make this dynamic. So the first thing we're going to do is, instead of passing GBP already from this place represents the two currency. So remember from the endpoints we have USD to GPP. So this GPP should be the two currency. So the first thing would be to use two currency, which is going to be the key. Then over here, we'll do string interpolation and those two currency. Cool. So for the USD, we'll do from currency. Cool. Yep. So this stuff is complaining because we did not return the string. So let's just return success. Return so this is looking good so far. So the next thing would be to store this value in a variable. Let's store it in a variable called results. So let's declare results. So result is going to be part of the state because this value 123 is going to be the results. So results should be a string. It should be empty for now. So now, if we want to set the value of this to the result, which is in this text box over here, we also have to call the set state. But let me not call the set state first, so show you that this won't work. So we head over to this and just call result. Okay, what's the problem? The following assertion was thrown. Okay, data not equals to null equals to true. Okay, so let's give the result a default value, or just results equals to null. Let's see. Okay, data not equals to null is not. Okay. Don't explicitly say, oh yeah, in that I think the variables are, your empty variables are null by default. So let me go back to this and do something. So now this results, remember, like I said, it is an asynchronous task. The conversion is an asynchronous task. It's a function. It's an asynchronous function. The result does not come immediately. So we can actually do a condition. So if result is not equals to, okay, let me do this way. If the result is not equals to null, do this, else just creates a blank text, an empty text. Okay, so that is cool. So let me just explain what happened over there. The reason is that if you head over back to this place, the result is by default, the result is null, because in that, whenever you declare a variable, they are implicitly null. That's why the IDE complained that I should not explicitly declare it as null. So, and our UI needs this value called result over here, but since this is an asynchronous task, the result is currently null and it has to wait. The result is going to be returned in the future. So initially we don't have the results, but over here in our text we are making use of the results. So I just did a simple check to see if this result is not equals to null, show the text, but if it is null, just provide an empty text. So that is what we are seeing here. This is currently empty. So let me just click this button and nothing comes up. Nothing comes up over here. Nothing comes up over here. Two reasons. First, internet connection. Secondly, we've not told the states to update. So let me click again. So let's head back first and tell the states to update, because this result is part of the states. Remember, I told you the result is part of the states. So let's head over to do conversion, and this assignment should be set state. So this result assignment here should be set state. Let me just do a hot restart. So we should see our spinner first before we see the UI. So cool. So let me click on this. This should update. What's the exception? Let's see. Type double is not subtype. Okay. So the results currently is, it said double is not subtype of string. So the result, what it returns is a double. So this value over here is a double because of the decimal points. So what we just need to do is just to call a very simple and handy function called toString. Is this possible? Let me see. Yeah. Let me just do toString. Cool. So the API returns a double value, and over here and the text field knows accepts string input. So what we were doing here was to pass in a double value. Meanwhile, this text widget needs a string input. So I just used the handy function called toString to actually convert double to a string. So let's click. This should update. Seems like the application is hanged, so let's just restart. This tutorial is getting quite long, but I'm sorry about that. We just have to do this step by step. So cool. Voila, it's currently working. So we have 0.772, and you can see USD to GPP 0.77. So it's currently working for now. Let me see if I could change. We'll change and we'll click on this. It's working. So this is cool. This is cool. So the next and the final thing we should be doing would be to find a way to get the value from this text input over here. So we want to use this text input to actually change. So instead of just doing, by default, it converts one of this currency, like one USD to one GBP. So one USD to British pounds, it just converts one by default. So what we're going to do is that we're going to get a value from this text input and multiply it by this value to get the conversion. So in our do conversion, the next thing would be to get the value from the text. So, and over here we declared the from controller, that is this text input, the from text controller, let's just name it from text controller, and in our text field over here, from text controller. So the controller is going to handle how we actually use this data. It can be used to get the value of the data. It can be used to clear the data and some basic operations. So we head over back to the do conversions, and to get the value, we just do from. I should make this private, but you can also make this private, but I'll just continue to save time. So from what's up from text controller, let me just, okay, dot text. It was complaining here, but I'll tell you why. So the from text controller dot text gets the value of the text. So we're going to actually pass this text because the text is currently a string. So we're going to do double dot pass, then pass in the string multiplied. It started. Okay. So we just put in our brackets, or not from this side. Let me put in the bracket from here. So okay. Okay. So instead of trying to just, instead of, we could use the help here, add cast. No, I don't want to. No. So instead of doing this, let's just let's just create this. Okay, very silly stuff I'm doing over here. Just add the parentheses. Yeah, we just add the parentheses to just make everything inside the parentheses currently to be a double. Then when we get that, we'll cast it into a string. So cool, let's save that and see. So what this does is, let's check if it's working first of all. So I come over here and click 2 and click convert. It should be, yep, everything is working good and fine. Everything is currently working. So I could also change this to, and click this again. See, everything is working. So I think the final thing would be to just initially I needed, or that will be an assignment for you guys. Whenever you change the value in the unchange, just call the do conversion function, so you don't have to be clicking this button all the time. So that is something you could do. But one last thing I would do, so currently the currency converter is working. So one last thing I would do would be to just style the text field. Let me just do that quickly. Where is the text field? Okay. Let me see what it has. Okay, style, text style, font size equals to 20.0. Yes, let's see how that looks. Okay, color plus two colors dot and we could also add a placeholder. So yeah, the font size is big, and we could also add a placeholder. Decoration inputs. Oops. Can I remember this? Text decoration. If I can't remember, then we'll just leave that. So text decoration, and pass in. Oops, I can't remember that. So I just wanted to add a placeholder for oops. Okay, let's not waste our time. So I think that's it for this. I would also probably in future videos, if I would add anything to this, I think if you currently rotate this, it's not going to be looking too good. Let's just try that. It's going to overflow. Yeah, so you can see the overflow. Probably in a future video, I would show you how to make it responsive. So this video is already taking very long, so I think that'll be it for it, guys, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.